Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for stopping by for another video. Today is a different kind of video. I haven't done a tutorial in a long time. I have made planner covers on my channel before. If you notice in the thumbnail of this video, we're going to be creating seasonal covers for my classic size Happy Planner and possibly my mini. I'm not exactly sure how long this video is going to be, but the point of this video is that I am able to share with you a new product from Qfun. It is spelled exactly how it sounds. It's Qfun, F-U-N. Qfun reached out to me back in January of this year to see if I would like to share their laminator on my channel. And I was tempted at the time, but I had already done planner covers on my channel at the time, and I was interested in a 10 mil laminator machine. And so when they reached out to me, the link they sent me was for a 5 mil. And so when I replied back to them and asked them if they had a 10 mil, and if so, I would be willing to share it because that interested me. Definitely thought it was something I could use and get some good use out of and share with you guys. They replied back and said they did not, but they had one coming soon. And so I had forgotten about it, honestly. Well, a couple weeks ago, they reached back out to me and told me their 10 mil laminator is now available. And so they wanted to know if they could send it to me. And I said, of course. The reason why I wanted a 10 mil laminator and the reason why I jumped at the chance to share it with you guys was because that is what the Happy Planner uses, and a lot of these other planner companies who create covers use a 10 mil laminate on those planner covers, and that gives them the thickness and sturdiness that you're used to without having to double up the sheets and it not being as nice looking, which I've done before with the 5 mil sheets. So anyways, in this video, I'm going to go over all the features of this machine with you. I have tested it out already. I've made some dividers for my stamp and die sets in my craft room. So I've already used it. I can already tell you the quality is great. There were no bubbles, no wrinkles, or anything like that in the 5 mil that I tried. I have not tried the 10 mil, but we're going to do that together, okay? So just a little bit about this machine before we get started. One is I have a link for you down in the description box. If you want to purchase or look at this machine online, it's going to take you to Amazon. If you use that link, I do earn a commission at no extra cost to you. So definitely take a look at it and see if it's something that you are interested in, or if you would be looking to purchase. It's a good time for it right now because it's on sale. There is a discount going on as of the time of this recording. I believe it's like $30 off, and so definitely check that out. And again, I do earn a small commission at no extra cost to you if you do use that link, so thank you to those of you that do. Again, this is a 3 to 10 mil laminating machine. What that means is you can laminate anywhere from 3 mil sheets up to 10 mil sheets. It is a 13-inch wide opening that is means that you can do up to 13 inches wide, of course, but you can do up to 11 by 17 inch projects. So that was one thing I thought was really neat. Warm-up time is 1 minute, you guys, and it's real. Like, it takes 1 minute, or I don't even know. I didn't count it, but it's really quick. My old laminator, it took several minutes for it to warm up, and it was just a pain. Matter of fact, it broke, and I kept using it because the tray broke. But anyways, 1 minute on the warm-up time, which is amazing. It has a speed of 1,000 millimeters per minute. That's the max speed. I haven't played around with speed or anything like that, but I think that's fast. I've never checked speed on laminators before, but I'm assuming that that's pretty quick. And matter of fact, it did seem to be fast when I was running my dividers through that I made on the machine already. It's heavy duty. It can accommodate up to the 10 mil thickness, as we've talked about. If you have ever looked for a laminator to do a 10 mil, you'll know that there's not a whole lot of them out there. At least I didn't find when I was looking for them over the last couple of years, because I've kind of kept an eye out. So this one is a heavy duty, up to 10 mil thickness. it has 4 roller pressure system. That just means that it's actually double than the standard. Most laminators have a 2 roller system. This one is 4 rollers. It has a reverse smart jam prevention system. Actually, they call it REV, Smart Jam Prevention System. So it has a one-touch reverse button. So if it did get jammed, then you can hit the reverse button and it will push it back out the way it came in. A lot of laminators don't have that. So I don't know if you've ever had to fight with a laminator to get your project out that got jammed. It's not fun. Sometimes it's impossible, but this one has a reverse button. Let's see, safety features. It has actually 2. It has overheat protection, so that just means it regulates the heat in real time to not overheat itself. And then the other item, or excuse me, the other safety feature is that it auto shuts down after 30 minutes of inactivity. So that is a good thing, because if you're like me, you may get distracted or just working on projects and it does shut off after 30 minutes. And then it has built-in accessories. This is a little different than most laminators. I know I have seen some on the market that have these types of things, but this one does. It has built-in compartments that include a paper cutter, corner rounder, hole punch, binder rings, and then it also comes with 30 sheets of 3 mil laminate pages, the larger pages. So we're going to get to that in just a minute, but I'll show you a couple of the features that we have. It has this flip out tray, kind of like that. It has a cutter on top. This right here, this shiny part, you'll see it's kind of already got a line in there. It has blades that fit in here, so you can cut your laminate here. Has some measurements with angles here if you wanted to use those. On the back, it has, let me turn it actually this way, but it has the or excuse me, I'm sorry, not this side. It's on the front, not on the back. It has the this little compartment that opens, presses to close and presses to open. It has the extra things that we mentioned. So you have a corner rounder included. You have a hole punch, little just a single hole punch included. Let me take it out of the package so that you can see it. Just nice and cute and compact. It fits right in there, so you don't have to have an extra tool handy to use a hole punch. Binder rings are just included for your convenience. I mean, you could put other ones in there if you use these up. Binder rings are good for a lot of things. One thing is to make, if you made like cards that had like, you know, anything on them, but a stack of them, you put a hole in them, put them on the binder ring, and then that's like a little flip card system. I'm thinking like flashcards, you know, swatch cards, things like that. And that's included as well. And then here we have 3 cutter blades. See if I can tell. I think this is the straight cutter blade. It's got the line on it. They just pop in to this little, I'm not going to push it in. It's kind of loud, but we'll try it out later. But it pops in there to cut. But then you also have a couple of other types of blades. You've got this wavy blade, and then you've got a perforated blade that just does the dots. So I did play around with the blades a little bit, and we can do that in this video, but mainly in this video I want to create those covers with you guys. I've never been able to create 10 mil covers myself, and I've always wanted to try that, so this is the best opportunity for that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and actually there's a couple more things I want to show you. So with it, you do get a user manual. It comes with an extra little strip that if this gets worn out, I don't know if you've ever had a cutter that had a strip that the blade cut on that you have to replace. A lot of them have just like a groove, but this actually cuts on that surface, and so this is an extra one. So when that one wears out, just keep in mind you can also flip them over. So you kind of have like 4 surfaces to cut on until you have to get replacements. The other item it comes with is another little cutter that it doesn't really fit on here. It just kind of sits with it. But it's also like a little cutter, and it comes with its own little blade. It's just a regular blade there. So I did try this little cutter out. I wasn't super impressed. I'll just be honest with you. So I would probably not use this since I already have cutters. But if you don't have a cutter and you just needed one and, you know, needed it, it would be there for you. So definitely keep that in mind. Then you also get a sheet here. This is just to clean it. So after, it said after about 10 laminations, you just run this little page through, and it helps to pick up any residue from the rollers. And so it's good to regularly clean your laminators. I didn't really think about that. I knew it was a thing, but never really did it. So this is also included. And then as I mentioned before, you get 30 sheets of 3 mil laminate sheets, and these are the big ones. And so, which is nice because I don't have any this big. I only have the 8.5 by 11. I'm gonna go ahead and take one of these out, or take them all out so that you can see. Let me sit it to the side. Oh, there's more. I'm sorry. There's more. There's a lot of sizes. So in here we get little small pages, and they have the seal on one end. So you definitely want to keep that in mind when you're buying for this machine. I believe it does need the sealed edge on one end. I know some laminators take like rolls. This is not one of those machines, I don't think. All right, so you get several of those. I think you get 30 total pages is what I'm thinking. This one is, well, it's just a little bit bigger. Again, it's sealed on one end. These are all 3 mil laminate pages that it comes with. So if you wanted other thicknesses, you would have to purchase those separately. I will link the ones I purchased down below. We're going to use them together in this video, so if they're good, we'll put them down below so that you can check them out. These are 8.5 by 11. I guess that's actually 8.5 by 11. They might be a tad bigger, but they do look like 8.5 by 11. But these, I think, are the 11 by 17. So you're going to get some of these too, which is so nice because, I mean, I've never had a laminator that would do a job this big, so that's really cool. All right, so now let me show you the papers that we're going to do. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we're going to make a set of seasonal covers for my planners. Definitely for my classic size planner, but I think I might want to sneak in some mini covers too, depending on what we have time for. And some of it I might, you know, cut out and then show you the covers at the end, but I'm definitely going to show you the process for one of the covers, and then I can kind of recap with the ones that I've made. I don't want this video to get too super long, and so we'll kind of play that by ear as we go. The papers that we're going to use on the covers, as I mentioned, they're going to be seasonal. So for summer, I'm going to grab, well, let me say this. You want two-sided pages. You don't have to have two-sided pages, but what it does is it, number one, allows you to have two sides, and then number two, you don't have to worry about putting two pieces of paper back to back, which can be not the best situation. It works, but you could, if you use adhesive to you know, to hold the pages together, you could see that in the imprints on the lamination, but for double-sided, you're not going to see that. So this is going to be our summer set, and again, they're two-sided, so you can change them up. For winter, I've picked out a couple of pages from this Holly Jolly 12 by 12 paper stack. This was from Joann's. It's die cuts with a view. I don't know if this would be available anywhere. I'll look and see if I can find a link for it, but it was a Joann's purchase from a couple of years ago. But I'm going to grab these pages out here, and I just thought they were so cute. One side has all the little crafty scissors, tape, presents, like gift wrapping kind of supplies, thread, and then the other side has the snowmen. So that'll be cute for one side, and then that would be another side. Like I said, you'd have two cover sets basically in one. That was a really hard decision though. There's a lot of cute paper in this paper stack. The other, let's see, this one is going to be spring. I've pulled this. It's got all these flowers with hydrangeas and those really pretty red flowers. I don't know what those are called, but I love the background with that kind of teal color in the background. And then the other side is this teal with the little pink roses. I just thought that was super cute, so we're going to make that our spring cover set. And then fall, I've got a, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you what pad that was. That was also Die Cuts with a View Country Floral from Joann's as well. And I keep mine, I label mine up here, so when I put them on my shelf, I see the name of them, so that's why they have that on the top. And so this one is a Park Lane Simple Things paper pack. Again, Park Lane is Joann, so I don't know that you could find this unless you bought it secondhand, but it was kind of like a fall paper pack I bought a couple of years ago, and I really thought these pumpkins were really fun with the black background. And then the backs of all these are like a sweater design, and I thought that was really cute. So that'll be the back of our planner cover, but again, that'd be two-sided. So that's going to be for fall. So if you ever have created a planner cover, the main thing you want to start with is getting the correct measurements. Where my cat was up here, so let me clean this off. But the main thing you want to start with is getting the correct measurements. So let me grab a planner cover. That's what I start with. And we basically just copy the measurements from the size of planner that you want. I pulled a couple of planner covers, one from Happy Planner, and then this one was from Live Love Posh. The Live Love Posh, I was just curious actually to see if they were the same size, and they look to be pretty much the same size. The plastic on the Live Love Posh is a tad bit wider. The paper is almost exactly the same on the width. On the height, the plastic on the Live Love Posh is a tad bit higher, and the paper is almost exactly the same. The other thing that you want to look at is the corners. So, and that's another thing you need is a corner rounder. We'll try the one that they sent with the machine. I have not tried it out yet, but you need a good corner rounder, especially for cutting the laminate. So I do have a We Are Memory Keepers corner chomper that I usually use for that, but we'll play around with it and see what we think of the one that they sent. Also, it also determines the size of corner you want. So you kind of notice that the Live Love Posh corner is a tad bit sharper than the Happy Planner corner. So like if I put them together, you can kind of see that the Happy Planner is a little more rounded than the Live Love Posh. So there's just a few differences. Nothing that would make or break the planner cover because they would both work for a classic size, but just something to keep in mind. The other thing that you're going to need is a disc power punch. I also have a We Are Memory Keepers disc power punch, and I'm going to pull that out too. Let me grab that. Went ahead and pulled the corner chomper too. This is the We Are Memory Keepers disc power punch. It's got the measurements on there to get those discs exactly the right distance apart, and then this is the 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch corner rounder from them as well. You open that up all the way, and then depending on what size you want your corner, you choose either end, and just being careful to use the same one as you're working. But that is the corner chomper. This is the disc power punch. I think I know I have this linked. I will try to make sure to have all these products linked down below for you in case you need to pick them up to make planner covers for yourself. All right, then let's see. We need our 10 mil laminate sheets. So I picked up a large pack from Amazon because cost-wise, it was a lot cheaper per sheet to buy the big package. This is the package this is how it came. This is the packaging it came in. It does say 10 mil, 50 pieces. Again, I'll link these down below. Hopefully they're good quality. You're going to find out with me. And then we'll kind of go from there on these, but I will link them for you or something equivalent. All right. So as far as measurements go, I think I'm going to stick with the Happy Planner because I have made these before. I like to measure, well, you should also measure the edge of the paper to the edge of the paper. Don't measure the plastic to plastic because that's going to be too big. So we're going to start with this measurement first, and that's going to be exactly 7.5 inches by, I think it's 9.5. 9.5. So 7.5 by 9.5. And as we go through this video, I may check that about 18 times, but that's just me. I have a hard time remembering numbers from one second to another, but we will check it if we need to. I'm going to move the machine out of the way for just a few minutes. And then we're gonna cut our paper, and then we're gonna move on to the lamination part. Let's start with the fall one, since it's October right now, so that for sure you guys can see me do these on camera. And then if I have to do any of the others off camera, it'll be the other seasons. But before this video is over, you guys are gonna see all the covers that I make. All right, so 7.5 by 9.5. Now, I am going to use my paper cutter because it does have longer measurements. It's got the arm that pulls out. So you would need that too, depending on how big you're going to make the item that you're laminating. The other thing I want to look at is just to make sure that all the corners look nice, because if there's one that doesn't look nice, I could choose not to use that one. Also, this paper pad pulls out of the top, and sometimes you can see kind of an edge where you can tell, but this actually pulled out really nicely, so I'm not going to worry about it. The other thing you want to do is make sure that the orientation of the paper is going the way you want it. And then another thing you want to look for is where, you know, the items are going to fall on your cut. So if I'm going to be at 7.5 for this one, when I cut it, it's going to be on this line right here. It's going to cut this pumpkin in half. If I turned it and went 7.5 on this direction, it's going to cut these in half. And you could do, you know, more of the center of the page, but it's not that big of a deal to me. I think it's going to be, no matter what, this paper is going to work either way. So, oops, I didn't mean to do that. But you want to line it up honest as best you can. And then I like to run my blade up towards the paper. I don't start at the top and pull down, only because I've had paper shift on me in the past, but that's just habit. I always start at the bottom and run my blade up. Okay, so 7.5 by 9.5. I cannot believe I'm remembering that. So now I want to see, what do I want the top and the bottom to be? So 9.5. So here it would be, cut the little stem off the pumpkin, and the leaf is going to be at the top. If I have it this way, these pumpkins are cut in half. So I think I'd rather have these pumpkins cut in half at the bottom than the top. So let's go to 9.5 here. And again, running my blade up. Check your measurements twice while doing this, because the last thing you want to do is ruin your piece of paper and it not work, because these paper pads only get 2 sheets, so I have 1 chance for each page. So just be very careful about that. Last time I made covers, I did mess them up, had to pick out different paper. It's not the end of the world, but it is disappointing. All right, so now this one, again, I'm gonna make it 7.5 by 9.5. And just for fun, I may flip it around and do the other side, just so that they're not completely the same. So we're gonna do 7.5 on this side. Or what did I do that on this side? See, I'm already kind of getting confused. Oh, I did the bottom corner. Okay. So yeah, it would still be turned around. Okay. So 7.5. This is the width. And I do really try to make sure I'm getting it right, because I really don't want them to be off by much. If they are, that's okay. But I don't want it to be, if I can help it, I try to watch that. And then here, it probably doesn't matter because we've shifted our paper already. So again, I don't want those pumpkins in half at the top. I'd rather have these at the bottom, so I'm going to go to 9.5 here. So 7.5 by 9.5. And checking my measurements twice. There we go. So that's our planner covers. And so you can see it's almost exactly the same. It's maybe a smidge smaller. That's okay. I think I got the height pretty good, but the width is maybe a 1/16 of an inch smaller, but that's okay. All right, so I'm going to move my cutter out of the way. One thing you also want to check, let me get this corner rounder out. We will test it out and we'll see how big the corner is, because it might not be exactly what we want as far as shape goes. I do have another corner rounder. Well, I can't find it because I'll be honest with you, I am packing for a craft retreat coming up, and I have packed a lot of stuff already. So let's test this one out to see what we think about it. I'm just going to take this small piece and put it in. When you're doing a corner, you got to make sure it's in completely straight, because if you have it the least bit crooked, it won't punch right. So we're going to have this corner with that corner rounder, which is nice. Nothing in the world wrong with that corner. It's a tad bit sharper than what I wanted. So I think it's okay. We're going to use this corner. I'll use this one probably, not that. I'll use this one probably for the lamination, but we'll still test it out with this too. So you want to go ahead and punch your corners on the paper, because if you don't and you laminate it, your corners are not, they're going to be squared inside the seal, and that's not the look you're going for. Unless it is the look you're going for, you can definitely do that if you want to, but I like mine rounded prior to lamination. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. It's a pretty loud. It does have a little container underneath there to catch those little clippings, which is nice. I'm also, because this corner rounder, you have to kind of, it's got a little wiggle room to it. So that just means you've got to really look at it and make sure it's where you want it in the center there. Some of them have a little more wiggle room than others. This one has just a smidge of wiggle room. So I'm going to go ahead and do all 4 corners for this one. All right. So now it's time to plug up our laminator. Let me go ahead and do that. Move a little bit of this out of the way. And I have a plug under my desk, so if you have a craft desk, I recommend that. It's so convenient. I don't have to find it on the wall. Whoops, and I just touched it. So the way these buttons work, and I'll be honest with you, the first time I used it, I had a little trouble. No, it wasn't hard, and I had to read the directions a couple of times, but I know you just hit the turn, hit on off. Oh, and I did it again. That's what I do. I hit it too many times. And you have to tell it switch mode until you get to the one you want. And see, it got to the 10 mil and it's blinking. Okay, and you're gonna hear it start turning. It just automatically runs when it's turned on. Most laminators do that, at least in my experience. One thing I will say, because this touch screen is so sensitive, be careful not to bump it with your hand because you'll turn it off. I did that a couple of times while I was working on the dividers. I'll show you those too in a minute so you can see what I did. They're super simple, but I wanted to kind of play around with it before getting it on camera so I can figure out how it worked. But that's one thing I noticed, is that I would barely accidentally touch the buttons and change it without realizing it. So definitely keep that in mind. I'm going to try to watch out for that on this video. Let me get those while this is warming up. I will get those and let you see them. So these, I just laminated white cardstock, and I used my label maker to put the little labels on there, and I use these to divide my stamps and my die cuts. So that's why I have 2, like the wider ones are for the die cut envelopes I use. The more narrow ones are for the stamp sets, and then this one I have embossing folders, so that's for this one. But I laminated them, cut the edges super, super close, so I cut that seal off. And then I didn't round the corners because I just liked the way they looked, and so that's what I did. This is a 5 mil, and you can see how nice and smooth that laminated. There's no bubbles. My papers are a little off because I used different paper. I didn't realize it until I was halfway through that I had 2 different whites, but that's okay. It doesn't really bother me because I don't really notice it when it's in the bin. So anyway, we're still warming up at 10 mil. I'm gonna kind of test it to see how long it takes to warm up at the 10 mil, and when it's warm I will let you know at the bottom of the screen how long it took. Well, it's warm, so I don't even think that took a minute. Maybe it did. All right, so our laminating sheets for 10 mil, let me get this package open. It's going to be loud. All right, so I'm going to turn the machine this way so that you guys can see it as much as you can. It does, whoops, I almost touched that. It does feed in through the front, and you can see that it has the measurements there to kind of center up, and I might leave it turned towards me just for that reason, because I want to make sure to get it in there straight. So what I'll do is pull it down towards me just a little bit. That should be enough room behind it for me to kind of guide it from hitting my desk. All right, to put the laminate or the item in the laminate sheet. If you've never laminated before, they come sealed at one end, as I mentioned before. You just open this up, trying to be very careful to make sure there's no hair or lint or anything in there, because if it's in there, it's in there. It's not going to come out. And so I'm going to get this into that seam as even as I can, and you can kind of see I'm looking at that up here, and I'm just centering it, okay? And so I don't see any hair, any lint that's in there. And I say that I have cats. If you don't have cats, you may not have to worry about it as much as I do, but I do have to watch for that. All right, so now I'm going to shift it back down here, and then we're going to go ahead and put the first one in. And it just kind of goes in there enough where it stops, and then it runs through. It's running a tad slower, I think, than when I did my 5mm sheets on my other project, which is fine. That makes sense. It's going to take it a little bit longer to heat. All right. So it comes out pretty hot. That looks so nice though. I can already tell that's so thick. I mean, this opens you up to so many possibilities for planner covers if you were to invest in a machine like this. In the past, I'd mentioned I'd done the 5mm doubled up, and it works, but it's just a pain. It's such a pain because you're not getting the look you want, and it's just not the same. All right, so what I'm going to do is pull the machine back. I like to take the page that I just ran through and lay it flat on my desk, and I'll flip it and do it the same way, because my hope is that while it cools, it's flattening out, because it does kind of want to curl a little bit. What I could do is run it through again, and I may do that because I am seeing a little bit of a gap right here. I don't know if that's not sealed or not. I have not ran 10mm through it, so this is going to be a test. So I'm going to run it through again to see if we can get that to seal just a little bit better. But this time I'm going to turn it upside down and run it through. And let's try that again. I may skip through this part just so that you're not having to wait for it to run through again. All right. So again, I think it did seal better. That's awesome. You can kind of notice on the edges, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but the edges on the first run were a tad bit open, and that second run did the trick, I think. All right, so I'm gonna let this cool over here, and while it's cooling, we're gonna run the second page through. Again, just kind of making sure it's way up in there even, because if I can get it up in there far enough, then I don't have to trim that top, and that's kind of my goal. If I don't have to trim the top, I don't want to, and because it's already like perfectly straight. Yeah, that was a hair, but it was on the outside. So it's perfectly straight, and so I do want to try to get it, in there as best I can. As a matter of fact, I'm going to move it over because I want this centered. All right, that's probably as good as I can get it. And then now I'm going to glance, make sure there's no lint or hair or anything like that, namely cat hair. It's just, our cats don't shed a whole lot, but you just can believe that if you're going to find cat hair, it's going to be in the middle of a project of what you're trying to do, or on my desk when I start filming. That's just how it is. All right, I'm straightening this up a little bit more because I was able to push that up into that seam just a bit better. So let's go ahead and put this one in. And I'm just centering it, and when you feel it touch, it starts to pull it. You don't have to push hard. You just push the envelope in. Seal side first. That's super important. Always make sure to put the sealed end through first, and then it just does its own thing. And on this one, before I try to cool it down, I'm gonna flip it over and just run it through again, just like I did the other one, just so they're the same. And again, we're gonna just flip it over and do this. And I'm hoping that'll actually help straighten it out a little bit anyway. Even though laying it on a cool surface like your desk or something really helps to straighten it out. I did notice that the 10 mil was a tad bit, you know, harder to get straight, but it will eventually flatten if you lay it down on something and hold it, you know, let it stay there. And plus, once you get it punched and on disc, like, it's gonna take its shape, so I'm not too worried about that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit the power button. Well, I thought I was. There we go. You have to hit it just right. And I'm gonna hold this down on my cool desk to hopefully get it straightened out just a little bit. But in the meantime, I'm gonna move the machine out of the way and get the items that we need in our reach so that we can finish our first set of covers. All right, so the first thing that you're gonna wanna do is trim the covers up. And when you do that, you've got to be super careful not to cut in to that seam, because anytime you laminate, you're gonna have a tiny little seam that's not sealed because of the thickness of the material that you're laminating, right? And so when I cut my covers down, I'm gonna try to be sure not to cut into that. The other thing I wanna do is kind of be mindful of how big, say, the Happy Planner cover has around it, because it, you know, I don't want mine to be any larger or smaller. And so looking at theirs, they've got a good 1/8 of an inch around the seam, not just the paper. So we're gonna go ahead and cut ours down, but that kind of gives me an idea of what to watch for. So again, I didn't have to cut the top one, or excuse me, I don't have to cut the top one. It's barely taller than theirs, so I'm actually not gonna mess with that. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the bottom one. And when I cut my lamination, another thing to think about is that if this paper inside the lamination sheet isn't 100% straight, then you can't use this to butt it up against it, because it will be crooked. But if it is straight, which mine seems to be pretty straight, I can use that. The other thing I want to do is watch again for that seam, and it's hard to see once you have it down on the paper, or excuse me, the cutter, but I think I'm okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this. Again, I'm going to start by cutting towards my project. And that cutter cut it, but it was a little bit of a struggle. But there we go. That's the piece that we're going to save this, because we're going to practice our corner rounding on that. All right, so actually I didn't get quite close enough. And again, it's kind of hard to tell because you can't really see it, but I'm gonna cut it again. Let's see. Let's just go, whoops. I wish it was easier to see, but it is what it is. So we're gonna try this again. There we go. All right, that's better. Maybe a tad bit closer than I should go, but it's okay. We're gonna go with that. All right, so again, I'm using the edge of the paper to see if it's straight based on here, and it's actually a tad bit off, and I noticed that from my cut on the bottom. So I'm gonna accommodate for that on this cut. And I'm going to move it in a little closer than I think it needs to be because of my last cut being a little bit far away. But we're just going to try this and hope for the best. Again, straightening it up according to what I can see on the outside of that paper, not butting up against the top here. Holding it down pretty tightly because it's not butted up here, and I don't want my paper to shift. Okay, let's see how we did. Pretty good. I can't complain about that. So now we just have this side to do. And we're gonna say about right there. And there we go. So we have a planner cover. It's got sharp corners, so we're going to round the corners. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and cut this page. I will probably move through it pretty quickly, or speed it up rather, so that you don't have to watch me in real time. But I think I got my paper pretty straight, so we're going to go ahead and go with that. All right, so now we can round our corners. And as I mentioned before, we're going to use these scrap pieces to test out our corner rounders. First, I want to try this one. If it's strong enough to punch through this, I'm going to be impressed. And if it's not, I'm not going to be surprised. That's not abnormal for a regular little corner rounder to not cut through 10 mil laminating. And it does not. So this, I would say, would be good for paper, or maybe 3 mil and maybe 5 mil, but not 10 mil. But that's not a deal breaker for me, because it can only do what it can do, right? That's why I have this monster. And we have a 1/2 inch and a 1/4 inch, or 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch, as I mentioned before, making sure this is completely opened up. The other thing with this little guy is he's not perfect. You have to center it, eyeball it. If you just put the paper in and punch it, you're liable to get off, and I'll show you. We're going to test out this corner 1/4 inch and see what it looks like, and that's what it looks like. I have learned how to get a pretty rounded corner, or a nicely rounded corner with it, but it does, I'll show you what it does if you're not careful. If you have it off just the least little bit, it'll have like little jagged edges, and you don't want that. So definitely, you know, keep that in mind. Let's test the other. Let's see, that was the 1/4 inch. That's usually what I lean towards, but I want to show you the 1/2 inch just so you can see what it looks like. And you can see how much more rounded it is versus the 1/4 inch. Let me show you them side by side. I think this was mine that I did. No, it was these. So you can see the difference there of the sizes. So you get both sizes. We're definitely going to go with the 1/4 inch. And here is where you got to be super careful, because if you mess this up, you either have a messed up corner or you want to start over, just depending on your mindset, whatever you want to do. I just try to be as careful as I can, making sure that I'm centering it as best as I can, because it will punch off if you're not careful. And if you are a perfectionist like me, that can bug you. So I got a little bit of a snag there, but you can't really even tell. But that's what our corner looks like. And I think it looks pretty good considering that it's a homemade planner cover. So here we're still on the 1/4 inch, and you're gonna wanna look every single time, because the last thing you wanna do is cut them the wrong sizes, right? And I have done that before with this 1/4 rounder. It's definitely a flaw to the corner rounder because of the way it's designed, but it's not, it's just something we have to watch for. Now, every once in a while, I'll have a little bit of a piece there. I don't try to pull it with my fingers. I take my scissors and I clean it up. That's not a deal breaker to me either. It's just, it is what it is. You learn your tools and what they can do and what they can't do. But there you go, that's that corner. So we're gonna keep going, a 1/4 inch and a 1/4 inch. Okay, so that one didn't punch that great. I'm actually gonna turn it over, punch it again to see if I can clean it up. If it doesn't, I'll clean it up with my scissors. Pretty good. I think that's good. All right, so that's the first one done. I'm gonna go ahead and do these, probably speed it up for you guys. All right, one thing I have noticed with this, if I just go ahead without hesitation and just chomp, it does better. If I hesitate, it kind of wants to hang up a little bit. It's not perfect, but it definitely does the job. But anyway, so we're done with that. Now we are ready to punch our disc punches. This is where, depending on the kind of planner you have, you could do a 3-ring binder, you can do a disc bound, you could do a spiral bound, whatever kind of machine or capabilities you have to punch through 10 mil, you can do. For me, I like disc bound planners, and I've been using them for a long time, and I just love them. And so for here, this is pretty easy. It's kind of hard to get started, but once you get started, you're good to go. So what I do is, well, first of all, let me clean this little bit up because I have a little snag that I felt on this edge. There we go. But what I do is I'll take a Happy Planner cover and my cover, making sure it's the right direction, and then I take a Sharpie or some kind of a permanent marker, because you can use a regular pen, you just get a very faint line if you don't use something that's permanent. What I try to do is not get this on my planner cover, but I should put a dot in that little mushroom, kind of in the center if I can. And now I know where that first punch is going to be. What that's going to do, I know that's probably hard for you guys to see, I'll show it to you though, but I put a dot right there in that little mushroom hole, so you can kind of see. Hopefully you could see it when I did it, but I couldn't tell. And so now, but with that there, I know where to start my, well, actually, you know what? Let me do the second hole. I'll show you why. This will make it a little easier. Let's do, actually, let's do this first, this one on this end. And the reason why is because the way my punch is, when I turn it this way, the little guide is going to be showing right over here. So now with this hole on this end, what I want to do is eyeball that black line over the guide. You can see that hopefully. So you see the little line there? It's right over the center of that line. And what I can do is number one that you need to make sure of when using this tool is that your item is pushed all the way to the back on that little guide. So you've got the flat edge here and then your mushroom guide here. All right, so now with that lined up all the way to the back and centered over my dot, I can make my first punch. Okay, now this thing will punch through 10 mil, chipboard, so many things. So I definitely recommend this. I do not recommend using a Happy Planner punch for this, because there have been people that have broken their Happy Planner punches. Now, I'm not saying it can't do it. I'm not saying that it won't do it. I'm just saying it's at your own risk. I've never used my Happy Planner punch to punch anything besides paper, because I don't want to tear it up, and it's not recommended for anything but paper, and the directions will tell you that. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you wanted to try to put it in here, punch it all at once, you could, but it's at your own risk. So what I do here is, once you get that started, you've got your second punch done, right? So now we just need to go back to this first one. All you gotta do is flip it over, put your mushroom punch right there in that one, make sure it's pushed all the way back, punch down, and there we go. We've got our 2 punches. So now all you got to do is go down the planner cover, making sure it's touching that back guide, and you've got a disc bound planner cover. And there you go. 9-hole punch planner cover. How awesome is that, you guys? So now I'm going to go through, let me show you lined up with the Happy Planner one. They're pretty much spot on. Look at that. You can't even tell a difference. My sizes, or excuse me, my edges are a tad bit off, but honestly, you're not going to get it perfect because you're not perfect, right? But it's as close as it can be. And it feels the same. It's the same thickness. I can't tell a difference other than the fact that I see small imperfections, you guys. But that's just because I made it. It's not a machine made. That's the back of it. That's like a sweater design. It's so cute. Let's go ahead and do this one. Now, this one I would just recommend, you could line these up and, you know, kind of like do it this way and then move it. But honestly, I like the using the same method. Here's another thing to keep in mind. When you're gonna do your planner covers, let's think about one thing. I learned this the hard way. So instead of, you know, going in and putting it just like, you know, going down this line and starting at this end, starting going up, you can do it that way. But what I like to do is use my one I just made, line it up back to back, okay, front and back, and then put my hole so that they match. Because one thing I've done before, because see, my top and bottom are just a smidge off. Like there's not going to be hardly any difference that you can tell once it's put on a planner. But I can tell when I've got them held just like this. So what I'm doing is I'm centering these, because if I lined it up with one end, I'm off by like a 1/16 of an inch right there. And that could bug me. But if I line it up just like this, then it's going to be pretty, you know, even, and nobody's going to be able to tell. And so because I just shifted it, let me try that one more time. So I'm going to line it up kind of in the middle, lay it flat, holding it really, really nicely. And I can't remember which hole. I think it was this one. We're going to just put our little dot there. I might have gotten a little bit on my planner cover here. You can't really tell. I can get a little rubbing alcohol, take that off. But anyways, let's go ahead and keep going. So now I'm going to put this here. Before I punch that, I'm going to double check that I have my front and my back covers lined up correctly. Because when you open it, you want the insides to be the inside, right? So let's go ahead and go do this side. Again, lining that dot up over the mushroom stem, making sure it's all the way back in my little punch. Flip it over, do that first punch, and now we can keep going. The other thing I was kind of thought about mentioning as I'm doing this is that there is a bit of a smell from the laminator. It's not a bad smell. There's nothing wrong with it. That is a normal process for a laminator when you smell that. And it does tell you in the instructions that you will possibly smell different scents when they're running. So keep that in mind. All right, you guys, we have made our first set of covers, and it's so cute. So now I can have this for one set, or I can flip it around and make that a planner cover. And how cute is that? So that's so perfect for fall. I love it for Halloween with the black background. I'm going to go ahead and take my planner and put the cover on so that you can see it. It's probably not going to look the best with these orange discs, but that's okay. It's really cute. So let me flip it over. I'll take the back of this one off. And that's a little page I made last year, and I never did use it. So I pulled it out of my stash to say, hopefully I could use it this year. It's kind of like a little menu page. I used the Cassthetic Plans stickers and then Planything letter stickers from last year. But here we go, you guys. That's our first planner cover. And I just love it so much. It's so cool. And it feels exactly like a Happy Planner or any other company's thickness and sturdiness. So I'm going to go ahead, make my other covers, because I did tell you I'm making seasonal covers. I wanted a set of seasonal covers, and I wanted to make them from my own stash. And so I'm super excited about that. I'm going to go ahead and take some time, make those other covers, and I might make a mini cover. I'm not sure. I might. So it just depends on how long it takes me. We're at about an hour on this video so far. So, you know, it normally wouldn't take that long to make these covers. You probably could do these in probably like 15 minutes. That's probably just, and that's taking your time. But just by discussing everything with you guys, slowing it down, talking about the laminator, I just want to say how much I do love the laminator. It's honestly, I've never used a 10 mil laminator before, so I don't really have a whole lot to compare it to in that respect, but I think it's awesome. Like, I mean, it's just such a nice laminator, and the cover is just it's just so pretty, and I just think it's great. And so I'll have that link down below for you, as well as all of the other products. I'll come right back here in just 1 second and show you my other covers, and then we'll sign off of this video. All right, you guys, I got them all finished, and I didn't keep up with the time exactly, but if I had to guess, I think it was about 30 minutes from start to finish to make all 3 of these cover sets. So It is a lot quicker than the first set we did, but I'll show you the covers really quickly and then we'll recap the machine and we'll be finished. But this is the summer set. I just thought it was really cute. The colors more or less stood out to me for summer than anything. And then here's the other side, so I could have a, you know, stripes with the cover or the flowers. The Christmas one, I just really love it. It's so cute. I did finagle the paper to be able to get some of the snowmen without their heads cut off. And on the back here, there was a couple with them cut off. So when I did the second sheet, I just made sure to watch that. And then the other cover would look like this. And I just love it so much. I could see this being like for a Christmas planner or something like that. And then the spring set, I was mindful to pick out the one that I wanted for the front because I did try to make sure that the cuts were different so that each page wouldn't be identical. And so you kind of want, you kind of want to watch for that depending on what you want it to look like. If you want them to be identical, then pay attention to that. But if you don't, then you can kind of tell. And so I chose for this one to be the front cover because it had more of the red dispersed throughout than the back did. I mean, it has red too, but anyway, I just chose that one. And then the inside cover is the pretty roses, and it's just a simple look, but I think it's really cute. I could see that being a cute Easter cover or for the month of Easter. That would be really cute. So those are our cover sets. I really like how they all turned out. You could even go as far as making some dividers to match with the paper that you have with the scraps. I didn't make a mini cover in this video because I just wanted to go ahead and get this finished tonight. As I'm filming, it's the nighttime, so I didn't want to spend any more extra time on making any other covers right now, but I will. I'm really excited about that. But like I said, you can also add in other options, you know, dividers, dashboards, bookmarks. You know, you can make like a post-it note page, like a one about this size, and you could stick post-it notes to it. Just all kinds of things. So the other thing you could do is even make, you know, dividers. You could just laminate a blank sheet and make some clear dividers and do it that way. So there's just a lot of things that you can do. You know, the tools that we use, just to recap, we use the Crocodile corner chomper. That's a We Are Memory Keepers product. We use the Crocodile, We Are Memory Keepers disc power punch is what this is called. And then from the machine, we use the corner rounder that came with it. We didn't use any of the blades that came with it, but just know that there are different perforated blades. I'm not going to say that they're like the most high quality blades, so I wouldn't buy the machine basing it on using these for your projects, because when you use a 10 mil, you're going to need a good quality blade cutting system, you know, punches, things like that, because 10 mil is pretty thick and hard and sturdy. The corner rounder did a fine job, so I was happy with that. Didn't try the hole punch out, but it looks to be a standard hole punch. And so definitely keep all this in mind. And then this blade up here, I did test it out. And again, it does its job. If you were just going to trim off the excess, cutting it quickly, this would be fine. But to get those up close trims that are, you know, going to be very precise, I would not use this blade because it's not going to be as precise. So, and just kind of playing around with it, that's just my 2 cents on that. Keep in mind that you do get a variety of sheets that come with it. I love that they included so many different sizes to play around with, especially these larger sheets. So that gives you an idea of, you know, sheets that would work for you, the sizes that would work for you. So that is also included in the package, along with this little cutter as well. Again, I wouldn't use this, you know, for super precise cuts because you only get a little bitty edge here to line your paper up with, and so if you have a longer piece of paper, it can be a little harder to keep it straight. So I would definitely you know, keep this one in mind and use it if needed, but it is included, so that is a bonus as well. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I'll try to make sure to get all the questions that I can. If you purchase or want to take a look at the machine on Amazon, use my link below. It is affiliate. As I mentioned, I do earn a small commission at no extra cost to you, but definitely take a look at them at this point, because like I said, these machines are on sale. As of the time of this recording, I believe it's like a $30 discount from the retail price. Don't quote me on that, but I'm thinking that's what it had on there. But anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me while we make these planner covers. I really had a great time doing it, and I hope to maybe do more videos like this in the future. If you like this kind of video, let me know down below. Hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye!